I'd like to begin by thanking everyone who's here in attendance today and the outreach of support displayed by our family, our friends, our church, our schools, our employers, our coworkers, and the community through these difficult times. Your generosity and support has been broadcasted on the news, been printed in the paper, and more importantly, given my family and I the peace that Liv's life has had an impact on so many, making her short 10-year journey one of the most beautiful and meaningful journeys I've come to know. So I'd like to take the next 10 minutes or so to share her journey, what I've learned from the journey, and what I hope myself and others do to honor her and her presence here on this earth as we begin to heal. How about that hair? I can't tell you how many people have told us they'd wish they'd have hair like Liv. I had the honor of showering Liv regularly, and every time I washed her hair, I made sure to brush and comb through it with the conditioner in because it seemed like that was the only way to try to peacefully get the tangles out. No matter how gentle I tried to be, there was always hair coming out with each pass. And by the end, there's a ball roughly the size of a kitten. Yet, when she was dressed and her hair was fanned out to dry, you couldn't tell there was any hair missing. It was incredible. And what was even more incredible is no one ever walked up to Liv or to my family and said, "Gosh, look at that girl in the wheelchair. She looks different." It was always, "Look at that hair." For that, I'm grateful because this journey isn't just about the impact that Liv had on us, but it's also about how each of you saw the beauty and interacted with Liv through her time here on this earth. I'd like to go back to the beginning of it all. I'll never forget the first time I cried over Liv. We went to the doctor's office to have an ultrasound to hear Liv's heartbeat. Her life wasn't real to me until I heard that very heartbeat. And I can never forget the joy it gave me that I was about to become a father. You see, as a child, I had dreams that I was going to be the NFL superstar. I was going to score the touchdown in the Super Bowl. The crowd was going to go wild. Yeah. I was going to be famous, and it was going to be great. Or perhaps I would be Jacques Cousteau, underwater explorer. I'd have the camera follow me around wherever I went, but I'd have adventure, and people would be watching me discover new things in life. Yeah, I had pretty good ideas of grandeur and adventure for my life. I was fortunate enough to meet Kelly, who domesticated me, for which I'm grateful. Kelly taught me to be a husband. Liv taught me to be a father. And it was while I listened to that heartbeat, I realized my true dream in life was to be a family man. After that, I simply wanted a big family. As a matter of fact, I wanted 5 kids. I think I had Kelly talked into 4. She was more like 3, maybe. I wanted to provide and support my family through good times and bad, to lift them up in triumphs and protect them from danger. It was during the very sound of Liv's heartbeat that the course of my life changed. My dreams had changed. I now wanted to be a father and a husband. The next several months were spent planning a space for Liv and discussion of things to come, dreams we had for Liv, and things that we thought would come in our life. One of the big things that we had to do over the next several months was to come up with a name. I thought that would be a simple process. As a matter of fact, we had it figured out that if we had a boy, we had about 3 names lined up that we both agreed on. But no, not for a girl. I thought we had agreed for our firstborn on the name of Finley. About 2 weeks before Liv was born, Kelly and I were having a conversation. I stated, well, at least we agree on one name. She said, oh, really? What's that? I said, Finley. Kelly said, I don't know if that's the right name for this one anymore. Back to the drawing board it was. I was shocked. Kelly had always wanted the name Ariel or Livia. I wanted Grace. We all see how that one turned out. I believe you can see how it all ended up, of course. And the funny thing is, I never brought up Finley's name for our second born. I didn't want to go through the same process of what I thought was agreement and settling on one name, only to be disappointed once again. The funny thing about it is, about 2 weeks before Finley was born, Kelly said, you know what name's really coming on strong for me? And I said, no, I don't have a clue, because I didn't. She said, Finley. I said, let's go to the doctor now. I wanted to rush to the hospital at that very moment. We now have 2 daughters, Livia Grace and Finley Faith. Faith and Grace. As I was reading through scripture one day, it was no mistake I came across Ephesians 2:8, which says, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith. And it is not from yourself, it is the gift of God. Kelly and I were graced with 2 beautiful daughters, and our faith grew through raising and caring for them. Both of our girls' lives were gifts from God. Livia's name goes further, and it was no mistake. Livia, whose name we shortened to Liv, has taught myself and others to live by grace. At that point in our lives, with 2 daughters and a plan for more children to come, life was right. There are some indicators that Liv was not developing as she should, but to the best of our knowledge, we had 2 healthy, beautiful girls in our life. A couple of months later, and a surgery to remove Liv's adenoids and place tubes in her ears led us to see a geneticist who looked at Liv and stated, oh, she shows mild signs of a storage disorder. We were finally getting answers. I actually was happy about the possibility of coming up with something and knowing where we were going. It was complete ignorance on my part. I thought that we were on the road to a diagnosis and we'd get some medicine to treat this, and Liv's life would be back on track, as would my dreams of being a father and having a big family. I guess I didn't really understand what the doctor was saying, because on July 8th, 2009, a date that we refer to simply as 789, we received a phone call that we needed to come see the doctor right away. We were in central Illinois with plans of staying there for another week, so we weren't quite certain that we wanted to come in or travel clear back to Rockford, take the 3-hour trek about this way. Then the nurse explained to Kelly over the phone we needed to come up. I vaguely remember a little bit of that phone conversation. San what? How do you spell it? We did the worst thing that we could possibly do at that very moment. We Googled it. Terminal. And the time it took me to spell it just then, we were in the van. I don't remember the ride up, but I remember thinking, not us. We've got this. We're going to battle this. We're going to overcome this. We're going to get answers. We're going to be out there and help to find a cure, and we're not going to let this get the best of us. We will overcome this. Shortly after the doctor's visit, we had to have Finley tested. So while Kelly was with the girls and having blood drawn from Finley, I made 3 phone calls that day. One of those phone calls, the first one, was to my parents to let them know the news. My father lost his youngest brother, his mother, and his father all in a matter of 7 months. And not once did I ever hear my father cry through that time. I'll never forget the tears on the other end of the phone that day and thinking that it just solidifies my feelings, my gut feeling about how tough this journey is going to be. The next phone call was to my uncle. He's done some amazing things as a chemical engineer. And I thought, surely he would be able to help to find some advancements here. While he was willing to look into it, he had never heard of the disorder. The next phone call, the third phone call after that appointment, was to a buddy of mine who has a degree in biochemistry and works in various medical clinics and keeps up on a lot of what the leading research is going on over in Europe. Certainly he would know something, but that too was a dead end. Unfortunately, in reflection, what I realized is that I was trying to find solid ground in mankind when I really should have been praying to God. But I wouldn't grasp that lesson until much later in life. For 6 months, I only thought of all the things I wouldn't have. I'd never get to see Liv walk across the graduation stage. I'd never walk her down the aisle at her own wedding. And I'd never be able to play with her children, my grandchildren. My dreams of having a big family quickly vanished as we found out it was a 1 in 4 chance with each child that they'd have San Filippo. I was crushed. My dreams were crushed. I expressed this all to my parents about 6 months later, experiencing the feelings I had over all that I was not going to have in my life and how much disappointment there was. And I'll never forget my dad saying, "You know, son, that's fine. You can sit there and concentrate on all the things you're not going to have. And I'm real sorry that you're not going to have all those things. But guess what? In doing so, you're going to miss out on a lot of good memories along the way." And at that very moment in my life, my dreams again had changed. I decided that I must live my life. I have to live my life to the fullest. I wouldn't let San Filippo rob me of the memories that could be made. I must look to the positives if I was going to give my family the best life God would allow. Kelly and I spoke about it and decided we should start a foundation to bring about awareness and raise money for research. With the help of Kelly's uncle and a couple of close friends, we established the Live Life Foundation, where we would do more than raise awareness and funds for research. We would use our story to help others to realize how precious life really is and to be grateful for their blessings and for them, too, to live life to the fullest. Something had changed inside of me, and I began to be able to create beautiful and wonderful moments with my family. I began to notice more laughter that led to a greater number of memorable moments. Liv's favorite activity just so happened to be dancing, and we just so happened to dance like fools. We danced like fools to the Wiggles, to Elmo, to Beyonce. I can't tell you how many times we watched all the single lady videos trying to mock the moves and run around the room like crazed maniacs. Countless times we'd fall to the floor in exhaustion and laughter. Kelly joked that she hoped no one else would see, but secretly I hoped others would see the craziness and long to be a part of the fun. Liv's laughter was infectious, like the morning sun creeping through the cracks in the blinds. That laughter would light up your life. It was inescapable. And I had that laughter each and every day I chose to make it happen. The laughter and the dancing lasted for a time. But San Filippo slowly robbed us of that. As a matter of fact, San Filippo robbed Liv of dancing, laughing, talking, walking, eating, and eventually it took her life here on this earth. But the amazing thing about it is that during Liv's short time here on this earth, we have all learned from her that happiness comes in so many shapes and forms. While Liv was robbed of so much, it never took away what she had with her eyes. They were the biggest, brownest eyes you'd ever set sight on and expressed her love well through those eyes. Livia showed love and acceptance to each and every person with whom she came into contact through those eyes. She always wanted to hold a hand and offer a smile. No one was a stranger, and no one could escape those big brown eyes or her smile that lit up the room. I would walk through the store with Liv, and kids and their parents would go out of their way just to say hi to Livia. The joy on their face to say hello was incredible. There were many times I was known as Liv's dad. It was, and still is, one of the greatest honors I could ever be given. After all, my dream was to be a family man. Liv's innocence was catchy and it influenced many to love and accept people for who they are. As I think back to the beginning of mankind itself, back in the Garden of Eden, I think of the first two humans and how they were made with complete innocence to love and share with one another. This form of innocence was God's original perfect creation. In Matthew 10, verses 13 through 16, it says, people were bringing little children to Jesus to have him touch them, but the disciples rebuked them. When Jesus saw this, he was indignant. He said to them, let the children come to me, and don't hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. I tell you the truth, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it. And he took the children in his arms and put his arms on them and blessed them. And I think about that now. God there holding Livia, embracing her, showing her that love for the innocence that she showed as a child. For years, I prayed to God to either provide a miracle of modern science or a cure for all children who have Sanfilippo, or you know what, God, if you could just outright heal Liv through a divine miracle. While I wanted this more than anything, there were times I wondered what would happen if Livia really was healed, but rebuked God for her experience with her health issues. How would I feel if Livia was cured to have a complete life here on this earth, but not go to heaven? I would never be able to forgive myself. In Liv's imperfections, she was absolutely perfect. Perfect love, perfect acceptance, perfect innocence. In reflection of it all, I was blessed to be the father of a perfect angel here on this earth. It took me years to realize my prayers for healing were being answered by God, but it wasn't the type of healing in accordance with my plan. Slowly, God healed me, so I was able to accept and acknowledge this perfect angel in my life and learn how to live a better life in accordance with God's word. Thinking back to our decade with Liv, raising this beautiful angel with complete innocence wasn't always easy. Liv always wanted to be involved in what we're doing, including the almost daily gourmet meals my lovely wife likes to cook for our family. Cooking meant the use of hot pans and sharp objects. I'll never forget the day I came home and there's Kelly with baby Finley strapped in the baby carrier to her front, green beans sauteing on the oven or on the stovetop, a cutting board over to the side with a knife on it because she was trying to still cut other parts for dinner. And there's Liv grabbing, laughing, grabbing. And here's Kelly trying to protect the pan and the knife all at one time, with the baby strapped to her stomach and just trying to protect Liv through this whole time. And I'll never forget coming in the door and thinking to myself, I wish Liv would not reach for everything. It was something at that point in my life I made a wish for that I would soon regret. I've reflected often on those numerous times since. Before I knew it, Liv stopped walking, and I would have given anything to have those moments back, to have to defend whatever was going on in the kitchen or the garage. I would give anything to have Livia trying to be involved and laughing about what she thought was a game as we tried to protect her from the various dangers that were out there. My frustrations eventually turned into longings. You never realize what you wish away until it's too late. The simple interactions of trying to protect Liv from her persistent desires to get involved in what Kelly and I were doing is something I will miss for the rest of my life. This past summer, Kelly cooked a meal for a family who lost their mother. Kelly and Finley had an obligation that afternoon, so it was my job to pack up Liv and the food and take it over to this grieving family. I then had to make it back to the house in time to meet with someone else over another scheduled obligation. I had the food loaded up. I had the van started. I had checked Liv before I started loading everything up, and everything seemed fine. I picked Liv up, and she'd gone to the bathroom. She had pooped. I laid Livia down on the changing pad, and I opened up her diaper, and it went everywhere. The pad wasn't wide enough to handle the volume, and things got on the carpet. I was frustrated at first, and I can remember thinking, not now, not now. I had limited, fleeting time to accomplish what I needed to accomplish, and too much was being consumed by my endeavor to simply change a diaper. Luckily, at that very moment, I paused. I took a deep breath, and I told myself the alternative is that Liv isn't here for me to change her diaper. I suddenly became grateful for Livia being there and the opportunity to simply have that time with her to be her dad. The rest of the world could wait, but it was time for me to be a father and care for Liv. I'm grateful for taking a minute to realize how precious my time was with Livia, because I would give anything I could to change another diaper. Over a year ago, Kelly asked me if I had thought about Livia's death. Of course, I had, but I didn't originally realize the depth of her question. You see, Kelly had thought about many intimate and personal details, things that no mother should ever have to think about, but only a mother could. Together, we decided to let a few others in on the details of what we wanted. You see, it really does take a village to care for a child. Livia loved her Barbies. When she was younger, you'd never see her without one in her hands. She would twirl it and chew on it until limbs were gone and no clothes were on, and the Barbie needed to be replaced. We asked Finley to pick out a brand new Barbie for her sister. Finley picked one out for Liv and one for herself. She chose sister Barbies, identical in every way except the color of the hair. Finley kept hers, and Liv has her favorite toy with her now. Livia is wearing a bracelet that matches one that only Finley has. Kelly is wearing a matching necklace that Liv also has. The vision of Livia being restored in heaven is a source of comfort and peace for us. Knowing that she is running and dancing, playing with all the other children up there is a beautiful image for us. Because of this, we wanted her to have a brand new pair of running shoes. Her shoes are now supporting her adventures and play with all of the new friends. Kelly was able to take the time to paint Liv's fingernails a soft color of pink, reflecting Livia's sweet and soft personality. Her toenails are painted yellow, like the color of the sun. After all, Liv is our sunshine. Finley was able to send her sister off with a signature piece of her artwork and a handwritten note. This note was a request of Finley to never forget about us. Another personal and intimate detail is that Liv is wearing her first pair of underwear, something she's never been able to have until now. The last detail that we wanted to have was a dress made for Livia out of Kelly's wedding dress. Kelly had received the nudge this summer that it was time to accomplish this. We asked a friend to help us to find a seamstress willing to take on the significant task. Kelly received the news a little over a month ago that the dress was finished. It's a good lesson for us all to listen for and follow through with those gentle nudges God gives us. This past Monday, we were able to see Liv in her dress. She looked absolutely beautiful and peaceful. It's a comfort knowing that we were able to provide these gifts to Livia These details are a source of comfort for us that will remain in our hearts forever. Kelly even wrote a beautiful poem reflecting the symbolism of our marriage and the newly created dress we gave our little sunshine. The poem is titled Silken Threads. Now I lay you down to rest in these silken threads that once were blessed. Because of our union out of love in the eyes of God and the family we love. I dreamt you would wear them for your own special day, but the plans for that were long put away. I knew these threads could still be used, a gift to give, an honor for you. For you of me and I of you, one heart, strong bond that all could see. The gown I wore for unity resulted in the creation of your beauty. It surrounds the gift that was ours to borrow for all of eternity. So now there's a little more laughter in heaven. But where do we go from here? The dust will settle. Our lives will once again slow down, as will our tears eventually. What is it that I hope you choose to do to honor these beautiful lessons we've learned from Livia's short journey here on this earth? I'd like to start with the fact that you should dance like a fool. No matter who is watching, just open up and have a little bit of fun so you can recreate those fond memories with loved ones that will last a lifetime. Next, be certain to never wish anything away. As frustrating as some things may be, I want you to think about the alternatives because the person may not be there one day. You never know when one of those moments is going to be your last. Life can be a beautiful journey if you allow it to be. So take the initiative to make it so. Last, love and accept with the innocence of a child. That is how God originally made mankind. And I think you'll realize that innocence will help to establish lasting and loving relationships in your life. Thank you all, and God bless.